Ipob press release, Our Diplomatic Offensive. September 23, 2019. We understand and respect the legitimate yearning of the public to know what transpired between Ipob delegation to the United Nations in Geneva led by our able leader and prophet Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the staff of the various agencies of the UN we met and had fruitful discussions with. Without divulging very sensitive details that may undermine confidence and future discussions such as the one we just had, it will be prudent to say at this time that the meetings went very well and in some instances surpassed our expectations. It can be said that what transpired between Ipob delegation and the UN official is a matter of utmost trust and confidentiality governed by mutual respect. But let's say this if it will help. Our case is now before the various specialized UN agencies or working groups with specialty in various specific monumental human rights abuses systematically perpetrated against Biafrans and other vulnerable individuals and groups in Nigeria. Camallard's recent press release on Nigeria is one such example. You can see that only that press statement has rattled Aso Rock.What then will happen when these war criminals begin to answer individually and collectively or brought to justice before an international court of extraordinary jurisdiction? We encourage victims of these heinous crimes to stop being timid and be courageous in coming forward to bear witnesses to these crimes by the Nigerian state. Our exchanges were frank and forthright. If there were doubts before in their minds that Nigeria is one almighty calamity, the feeling we got after our discussions is that they now have a proper appreciation and deeper understanding of how irredeemably hopeless the case for one Nigeria has become in light of the reign of impunity, poverty, repression, unbridled corruption and collapse of the legal system. The compellingly well-marshaled case for Biafra self-determination by our leader was all too apparent for them to see and persuasively argued to their understanding that Ipob will not retreat nor relent, but will only intensify its efforts to bring about the collapse of the unworkable union called Nigeria. The UN were left to know that Nigeria is a failed state and arguably the most unstable and dangerous place on earth at this moment. We felt they understood the antics of the current Buhari regime is only comparable to the reign of terror of Pol Pot in Cambodia and the horrors of Idi Amin's rule in Uganda, but have governmentally introduced a system of state-sponsored Fulanization that can only be likened to an apartheid system or worse. High levels of police and army brutality and absence of uncompromised judiciary makes Nigeria a prime candidate for cataclysmic implosion in the not-too-distant future. Regarding the United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York, we have both direct and indirect representations for the forthcoming events in the U.S. Our people are on the ground. If the right conditions which we are waiting for are put in place, our leader will personally lead our people. Otherwise, it would be on a later date which would be duly announced. The proposed confidential U.S. trip by our leader to Washington, D.C. is something we have been preparing for since June of this year. For us, that will be the culmination of our diplomatic offensive which is now happening in the Far East with our leader's ongoing visit to Japan. Whereas Buhari was nowhere to be seen in public during the recently concluded TRIQUAD summit in Yokohama, our leader can be seen openly touring Japanese cities and addressing open town hall meetings. Our trip to the United States is something the leadership of our movement is looking forward to it with relish. Our approach will be better termed as a form of diplomatic strangulation of Nigeria. Regardless of the vast resources available to the Nigerian, one thing is certain, Ipob will at the end render Nigeria diplomatically irrelevant. They will empty their treasury and become impoverished in their effort to counter Ipob, which will end in the bankruptcy and precipitous collapse of Nigeria. There will be no peace with Southeast governors. A window of opportunity existed in the past which they could have availed themselves of, but instead they choose to do the bidding of their Fulani masters in the unwarranted, immoral and treacherous persecution of Ipob in return for empty promises of higher political office. Ipob primary focus is on the liberation of our land and enthronement of liberty for all oppressed people. Southeast governors are part of the problem and not the solution, therefore they will continue to be regarded as the traitors and FFs they have so proudly become. In recent days they have foolishly intensified their abduction of Ipob family members including breastfeeding mothers and their babies, whereas their northern counterparts are busy playing kidnappers, rapists and terrorists. They must know we are mentally prepared for this era of clampdown and will endure everything they throw at us. Our time is coming and when it does, the earth will shake. The FFU governors can go on serving their Fulani masters but our focus is the restoration of Biafra. Comrade M. a powerful media and publicity secretary for Ipob.